Welcome to week 2 of high school football action. I'm Cierra Clark alongside Nate Olson from Scorebook Live. Nate, high school football is completely in full swing now. Everyone has played a game now. And we're going to start over with the game right at War Memorial. Two very talented teams. Parkview had a lot of talent last year, and Bryant, of course, is just strong as usual. So what do you like about this matchup?
Well, you'll be at that game. It'll be at the THV game of the week, and I'll be there breaking it down a little bit more with you. This is an interesting game because Parkview is very athletic. I mean, for a 5A school, I mean, they have a lot of dudes on that team. I mean, they're very athletic at a lot of different positions, not just one, and they're young. I mean, Marion Robinson played as a freshman last year. He returned a kickoff to seal the win against Harbor in that first game. So you got Cam Settles, who's a good running back. It's a sophomore. So they're going to be good for years to come because they've laid this foundation of these young guys. So this is the way I think it goes. They can hang with Bryant for a while. Because they are talented. You know, that on 11 on 11, it's going to be who comes in the game later on. You know, Bryant cycles kids in. They play 6, 7, 8 offensive and defensive linemen. They wear you down. Their defense is really good. They're going to cause some problems with those sophomores and the inexperienced quarterback. But I think that Parkview is athletic enough that they can make it a game. But I think going through the long run, you know, Bryant wins this and is able to pull away in the second half. That's how it would appear on paper. But, you know, anything can happen. Parkview's athletic enough that, you know, like kick return. And Harbor's a 7A school. Not quite as good as Bryant, but they have depth, and Parkview really played well. Want to mention, too, for Bryant, you know, Jordan Walker, the young quarterback. And they didn't get to play last week because of weather. They were looking forward to playing Denton Ryan. Didn't happen in Shreveport because of storms. So he had an excellent game that first game against Benton, and he's looking to take his game even higher. You've got good running backs in Chris Ganaway and Torian Singleton's a standout receiver. So loaded on offense. They got the Graham brothers on defense patrolling the secondary, TJ Lindsay at defensive end. They're very loaded too, talent-wise, and they've got depth, which makes them very hard to beat. And I don't know, you know, if anybody's going to be able to beat them this year.
And Bryant came off with a win in War Memorial Stadium in that game against Benton, Sylvan County rival. So we'll switch over to Benton now. Benton hasn't won a game yet so far this season. They'll be taking on Sylvan Hills, who also hasn't won a game yet. So tell us about that matchup.
And this is a conference game because you've got a 10-team conference. So they play one non-conference game and get into it. So it's a big game for both these teams, and you're talking about playoff seeding already, you know, because these two teams are probably in the mix with El Dorado as favorites. So it's a huge game on the Palace, at the Palace on the Parkway in Sylvan County. One thing that will be interesting for Benton is that Gary Rideout, if you remember the game against in the Salt Bowl against Bryant, he's a good quarterback. Gary Rideout started that game. He was a Little Rock Central transfer, and there were some bright spots with him. He broke his hand in that game, so he's not going to be playing. Jack Woolbright, the senior, who was going to be the quarterback last year until Strand Smith moved in at the last minute from Monticello and broke some records there. He moved to defensive back. He came back to quarterback to compete with Rideout and Klein Hooten in a 3-way race. Rideout was the first quarterback. Woolbright was second and Hooten third. Now Woolbright played defense in the I keep wanting to say Sylvan County Salt Bowl game, and now he will be the quarterback tomorrow night for the foreseeable future. Hooten will be backing him up. Woolbright is 5'7", 5'8", 160. Not, you know, what you say a downfield threat to throw the ball as much, more of a game manager. But the good news is you've got Braylon Russell, who the transfer from Lakeside. We're going to see a more conditioned and more comfortable Russell because he had been hurt some of the preseason, didn't play in fall camp as much, and so he was a little bit rusty in that game, but you could see the power. I mean, we just talked about how good defensively Bryant is. A couple runs, 3 guys hanging on, and he carries them into the end zone. So the potential is there, and I think now, and nothing against Woolbright, he's not going to, you know, be just, you know, wow you with his arm, but he's very smart. So you're going to see more running, and Russell should be up to the task to run the ball a lot. Sylvan Hills has to try to limit him. And then on the other side, Sylvan Hills runs a run-oriented flex bone offense. So it's two teams going to run the ball. It may be a quick night out there. That's going to be the SB Live Central Arkansas game of the week, so you can catch all the action, the recap on that. But I think that'll be a good game. It's going to be a smash mouth game.
Yeah, Russell, a Razorback commit as well, and
Yeah.
there's a reason for that because he can absolutely run that ball. And moving over to Little Rock Christian, they're coming off a big win against Shiloh Christian up in Northwest Arkansas. They'll be taking on Lake Hamilton, another really strong team who made the playoffs last year. Tell us about that one.
Well, when you start with Little Rock Christian, you begin with Walker White. The guy is a 4-star recruit. He's being offered by everybody, a lot of Power 5 offers. I've said this before on different interviews. He was very hyped last year as a sophomore, and I think early on the lights were a little bright for him, and he was trying to figure some things out. They had an outstanding running back in Dyer Jones, and they got on the same page, and the offense did, and he did as the year went on and into the playoffs. And he really played well. In that Pulaski Academy game, he struggled a little bit early, but he caught on and he showed what he could do. And now, as a junior, I mean, there's no learning curve. You can see it. He is a big-time player. If there's better quarterbacks around the region, I would like to see them, because he has come out 8 touchdown passes. He had 6 touchdowns that he accounted for in the Shiloh Christian game. So he's a guy that is a huge weapon. He can run the ball, he can pass it. And now, as a junior, I think he feels more comfortable calling the shots of the offense and running the football team. And so that's kind of the big difference. I think last year we saw that he had a tremendous amount of potential. But whenever you've been offered that early and you've got people like us that are talking about how great he is and how great he's going to be, not everybody can just get plugged in and be big time immediately. But by the end of the year, he was getting it done. He's gotten it done at a very high level so far. And I think if you're looking at them, if you had some doubts on what they would do in the 6A West, I don't think you have those now. And now it's just a matter of coming down and winning a game like this at Lake Hamilton, because Lake Hamilton is also a team that you would consider a favorite, along with Pulaski Academy and Greenwood. Those 4 teams are going to be very good, and you're going to see where they line up in those dominoes, and then they get in the playoffs. I think all those teams could have a chance. But this is a big game because both of those teams want that number 1 spot. Lake Hamilton did not play great against Jonesboro, a team that struggled against West Memphis. They came to Percy ready to play last week. There was 2 lightning delays. I think that affected some things. But they scored late. Easton Hurley got a pass down inside the 5. They hooked up with a receiver, and Justin Crutchmer ran it in as time was running out. Crutchmer, a 90-yard kickoff return. He's dynamic, big-time player, 3-time state champion wrestler, a guy that can play linebacker. He's also a standout running back, and he returns those kicks. So Lake Hamilton wants to hold the ball, run it with Crutchmer and Kendrick Martin, keep Walker White off the field. Also, something that's in play is that it's a tough place to win down there, or if you're the opponent. So I look for a really good game. I think Walker White's the difference. I think he is, and I think he's going to have a chance to help him win in the 4th quarter. And Tommy Gillerin and company is just hoping to keep him off the field as much as they can.
So definitely Walker White, someone to keep your eye on if you're Lake Hamilton. And then moving over to our final matchup, we've got Maumelle versus Whitehall. Maumelle looking real strong in the Bryant and Maupin era.
Yeah, Maupin, what a great guy he is. He was always kind of the guy at Robinson that handled the media stuff. He's very savvy when it comes to that. Todd Escola leaned on him. And he is a fan favorite with the players, and you kind of wonder, he had such a good relationship with them. Assistant coaches are the guys that come behind the head coach and kind of pat him on the behind and say everything's going to be okay. Sometimes when you change roles, it's difficult. But I think that he's been able to keep some of that charisma and with the players and that relationship, but still let them know who his boss, and that was kind of the thing that I wondered about, because if you see him and you saw some of the pictures we took, he's celebrating and he's getting really into it, and not all coaches do that. The kids love it. And I think they bought into him. And you've got a real chance to go 3-0 here. And I think that there was talent there. I think last year they underachieved a little bit. They've gotten Weston Pierce, their quarterback, to improve thanks to an offensive coordinator that's worked a lot with him, played college football. And so everything has kind of come together for him, and a big blowout win at Batesville, an overtime win over Sylvan Hills, which was big in the opener. So I think they're right where they want to be. Things are on target. They're playing well. Whitehall, you've got Ryan Mallett, came in from an Arkansas player. They came from behind to beat Sheridan. They nearly pulled off a win against Warren, which they are a 4A school, but they're not your normal 4A school. When you look at Traylon Burks and all the guys that have come out of there. So it was a huge thing for them to be in it. I think a lot of us have kind of discounted them because they lost so much, and they lost a good coach in Bobby Bolding. But the same thing that Maupin has done, Mallett did as an offensive coordinator at Mountain Home. They were a team that played in that 6A West, and we just mentioned 4 good teams. They played in that, and they've made some headway under Steve Area, Missouri coach, legendary coach, and he brought Mallett in as the offensive coordinator. And everything we heard was that those kids rallied around him. They like it that he's younger, like it that he played in the NFL, Hog legend. And I think the same thing has happened at Whitehall. They bought into it. And he's getting those guys to play at a high level. So we will see how high a level they are, because I think right now you've got to consider that Maumelle is as a contender for that conference championship. I mean, they're on the verge of it. They've shown signs of it and have played very strong against 2 pretty tough teams. So it's going to be a good measuring stick for Mallett and company, but I think that he feels good about the trajectory that they're on, considering it's his first year as a head coach. But I know everybody's interested to see, because of his Razorback background and things like that, if they were able to pull off a win, be a big feather in his cap tomorrow night.
It should be a fun one. Well, thank you so much, Nate.
Thank you.
And we will have plenty of highlights for you on our Friday Night Blitz show at 10, 12 p.m. on Friday nights. You don't want to miss it.